Welcome to the Mile High podcast. Thank you for joining us. Committed to bringing you best chiropractic information, and as always, recommended to never miss any Mile High tick. Make sure to hit subscribe, and of course, be at Mile High in September. So at September 23rd to 25th this year, and so that you can grow in your philosophy and your vision and strategy. And this year, all focused on the art, which is why I am super thrilled, since we're talking about the art of chiropractic in 2021 in Mile High. A vital part of the art is the equipment that we use. Our tables, the things we use every day that our practice members are on, that really allow us the ability to serve them to the best of ability and have them have a great experience. So I am grateful to have Derek Harris with us today of Total Clinic Solutions, who has been part of Mile High for several years now. I actually don't know how many years. And he's also, but several years, and he's been part of chiropractic, serving the chiropractic industry for 26 years. So very knowledgeable about chiropractic tables and equipment and servicing them, and locally located in our local Front Range area for people that are looking for help. So thank you for joining us today, Derek.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, and thank you for what you do for the chiropractic community. It's really needed.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, and the same thing for you. I know it's harder and harder, actually, people get quality help with servicing tables and getting quality tables. So what you're doing is very needed. So first of all, chiropractic is an interesting profession to find your route to, but even as a chiropractor, right, or a chiropractic assistant, and also for equipment and manufacturing. I personally don't know this. How did you find yourself in the chiropractic equipment world?
I'm glad you asked that. How I got involved was I was going to a chiropractor. It was Dr. John Hanna in Matthews, North Carolina, and I was a patient, and just kind of noticing there was little things going on with his equipment. This wasn't working right. This was wrong. And I said to him one day, I said, "Hey, can I work on your tape? Would it be okay if I work on it?" He's like, "Well, yeah, sure. You can go ahead and take a look at it and see if you can do anything to it." He said, "Are you sure you're qualified to do this?" And I said, "Well, I work on $32 million aircraft. I think I can work on your chiropractic table." So I started servicing and doing some work on the side for him. Then he would refer me out to his friends, and then it just started picking up, and God blessed us with more and more business. So it grew to where we weren't just servicing equipment any longer. We were selling equipment worldwide, and providing you guys with great equipment to service your patients and to have them have a great experience in your office. So that's basically the short story.
And then it was off to the races.
Off to the races. I started out alone, by myself, just going out through North and South Carolina, servicing all the equipment. I did some side work for Script Hesco at one time. They were Hesco at that time, and I was their service rep for the Carolinas. And then after that, I was basically on my own, and just kept doing it. We were doing upholstery, we were doing service work, we repaired Zenith tables, Lloyd tables, Omni tables, Elite tables, Barnes tables, and even the old Relaxos. So it's spinalators. I've seen it all. There's not too many tables out there I haven't seen anymore.
And honestly, there's not necessarily too many people that were servicing tables, and there's not many distributors. So when we find someone that has the kind of experience you have, we love helping people find quality help. And where are you located again?
We're located in South Carolina. We're
right. Oh, so I was wrong about that.
Yeah, right on the border of North and South Carolina. And I also keep a list of people that I trust to do service work in other areas. So, if you're in Colorado, if you're in Washington State, New Mexico, there's people that we network with to say, "Hey, give this guy a shot, talk to this guy," and try to help, have a network of dealers and service guys throughout the nation. when I was here in North Carolina, I think there might have been 2 or 3 other service techs that handled the area. Um, but now I think even that has kind of dropped off. So just with time and people retiring out, there's not as many guys doing it anymore. And the internet has kind of made a transition too, where people are like, hey, I can find this on here. But what happens when you find a table on the internet and you don't have a connection with a good service guy? Now you've got a broke table and no way to fix it. We are working also with Zoom, doing Zoom calls for service work, because we have some handy chiropractors out there that know how to do their own thing, and we can sell them parts, and we can kind of give them a quick video and say, hey, here's how you fix this. It's not a hard, it's not hard. You can do it, and try to help them through that. So we offer a lot of phone tech service and the video to be.
That's really helpful, because a lot of people, they're in the dark when they need help. And I know you go over and above for that, and that's one of the things that we appreciate you. So now, when people are starting out, or they're buying new tables, okay, either way, how do they pick the best tables for their practice? Because every practice is unique.
Right. That is a really good question. I usually start by asking a lot of questions, trying to find out, what's going to be best suited for your practice. Do you need drops? Is that important? Which drops do you want? And, are you going to be seeing a lot of pregnant patients? Do you want a breakaway? Do you want a pelvic elevation? So just asking a lot of questions. And sometimes it's like annoying, but it's like, I'd rather ask you 100 questions and find out exactly what you want rather than sell you a table just because you thought it was a good deal. And we found that out a lot in 26 years. I would go into an office and go, hey, looking at your table. Yeah, I hate that table. Like, well, why'd you buy it? Well, the sales guy said it was a good deal. I'm like, how could you not get it when you just bought a flexion table and you don't even do flexion? So, we try to find out, exactly what is going to suit your practice. What are you looking for? What uh, results are you wanting to get from the piece of equipment? Are you wanting to save your back? So you want an elevation versus a stationary. So you want to make sure you get the right height table, and make sure you get the right width table. A lot of people don't realize you get too wide a table, then you're bent over all day, and that hurts your back. So you got to kind of, know what's out there, what's available, and if that's going to work for your practice.
Right, right. And again, so many people just get what is in proximity to them,
Right.
which is not necessarily what they need,
Yeah.
or works for them, and then is less happy for them as well as the people they serve.
Yeah.
What do you wish you knew about equipment before you started in practice?
That would be what I wish I knew about equipment would be what, a good piece of equipment that's going to last a long time. What's the difference between vinyl upholstery and
Hmm.
heritage upholstery? What table is going to need the least maintenance? Um, it just kind of a few questions. One question I get a lot with like newer docs that are coming on board is, I want a table that does this. What they don't think about is if you get a table now that is an elevation table and you have the auto drops, you've just saved your body, years in advance. Because what I've seen happen is a doctor will start out and they'll buy a stationary table. Then they progress, let's say 5 years, maybe 8 years, they're going to buy another table. Now they want elevation. And the reason I hear is I want an elevation because my back's starting to hurt. I'm getting older. Now I don't want to bend over as much. So I want to get the elevation. And then the next step up from that is, hey, you know what? I need a table with auto drops because, my wrist hurts, my arm hurts. I want to be able to cock the drop. I want to be able to practice another 10 years. So for a new doctor coming on, and I know a lot of times it's a chunk of money, but if you can afford it and you can do it, start with the table that's going to give your body the maximum benefits so you can see more patients down the road and go home at night and not feel tired, not worn out from, doing all the adjustments all day long. That would be just the advice I would give a new doctor coming along and starting a new practice. That's what, if I knew that early on, that's what I would tell everybody.
And that's really wise. And I have not given even all the years in practice that I've been that much thought, and it would be wise too. Now, so a couple questions I want to ask. You talked about, vinyl versus leather. So what about that is important?
Right now, the biggest thing is the cleaners. So everybody's using cleaners. I'm not going to mention that word, but they're using a lot of the cleaners on the tables, and it vinyl is not holding up to it.
Ah,
Vinyl basically has a life of about 2 to 3 years, and that's with regular use, regular cleaning. When a lot of offices don't realize, when a patient comes in, there's no telling what's on their hands, what kind of lotion, what kind of cleaner, what they have on their hands. They put their hands down on the table to get onto the table. Those are usually the first spots that start drying out, start cracking. And then the face piece, you've got makeup, you've got different lotions, shave creams, aftershave that's going onto your vinyl on the headpiece. So that causes that vinyl to dry out and start cracking and start deteriorating. Leather is better in that respect, but I even have something better than leather, which is material, not material, but a leatherish vinyl upgrade. We call it finesse, and it's the same thing that Williams Manufacturing uses. They call it Heritage. Uh, Hill Laboratories uses it, and it's called finesse. But it's an upgrade. It's like a synthetic leather, but it never cracks. It never gets hard, never gets brittle, and uphold. When you start cleaning it, it holds. Its integrity, so you can clean it, and it doesn't wear out as fast. Now, that being said, it still has a lifespan. And I would say, instead of it being 2 to 3 years, it's going to be more like 8 years. And that's if it's taken care of good and cleaned. And that's vinyl or any upgrade upholstery. If it's taken care of well, it will last longer. But with all the stuff your patients are bringing in and putting on, you don't really know what's touching your table, so to speak.
right.
So my recommendation is the finesse heritage upgrade. It outlasts vinyl by years.
Well, that's good to know. And again, that outlast is repairs. I had portable tables at some point. I have your tables now. If I remember right, the name is Durasoft. Is that what I have?
You have the DuraComfort. Yes.
Comfort. I had tables in the past before those, and I'm very happy with those Comfort tables. I in the past other tables that I kept reupholstering, and
Yes.
so I had reupholstered them so many times, which is then increases your cost over time,
Right.
and you don't necessarily realize that sometimes making a larger investment initially might feel like sting or hurt, but it saves you down
Right.
the road,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that you see
That's
that in many things in life.
Oh yeah, exactly. I've learned that lesson, and I pass it along my life. Even it's funny now that the longer I've been in business, when I go to my car mechanic, I don't even ask him anymore any questions. I said, just fix it, because I
Yeah,
trust him and I know, hey, he's going to do everything that needs to be done, and he's going to take care of it for me. I don't have to worry about it. Where used to, I'm like, I think I can do that myself. And then it ended up costing me twice as much money trying to do it myself
right,
versus my mechanic. So
right,
yeah,
right.
exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, and that's that long-term view. We ask practice members to take that of their health and their spine, and then we don't necessarily do that
Yeah.
with our equipment, right? So chiropractors are notorious for telling people to think with chiropractic wellness thinking, and then they
Yeah.
apply allopathic thinking to their life or to their marketing or their equipment, right?
Right.
So
They,
sadly,
they don't like it when I use that analogy, when I use a chiropractic analogy on their table, and they're just like shaking their head.
yeah, because they know, right? So now, how does taking care of your practice members start with taking care of yourself by what you use in terms of your equipment?
Right. Um, well, it's just like anything, we get older, our bodies are going to age, certain things hurt worse than they used to. If we're not eating right and taking care of our bodies, putting the right fuel in, the same thing with a table. If you've got a table that is not doing the functions that you're wanting it to do, or making your life easier, where you're having to contort your body or use more force than you need to, like a drop table is going to help to keep you from putting all that force on your wrist or your arms, and just make it easier for the patient. Because a lot of times, patient can't be put into a side posture, or the thoracic you need a thoracic that opens up so you can use that to do an adjustment just to make it easier on a patient. So you're looking at yourself, you're looking at the patient, but long-term effects are you're doing a repetitive motion, doing the adjustments constantly. So you have to look at what's going to make it easier for you, what's going to make it a more pleasant experience for the patient. And it still comes down to how many more adjustments are you going to get out of your body for that patient. So the
Right.
table is going to be a big help for that.
Right, right. And I hear that from people all the time in terms of even choosing an approach, an analysis approach or technique, that they'll say
Right.
the way that they work on people is hard on their body. And some
Yeah.
ways are harder on people's bodies than others. So you have to be conscious of that for yourself. So man, 26 years in the chiropractic industry. So I've got this the question that comes up to my mind is the same kind of thing I ask a chiropractor or like a consultant that might say, like, you've consulted people for 20 years in their practices or CAs, and you've got to have seen some crazy stuff happen. Like you've had to see, like, man, like what took the cake on what a CA did or a doctor that you were consulting did, like that just is humorous. So there's got to be some crazy story that you've seen. You've probably seen everything in the chiropractic equipment area that was entertaining.
Yes, to say the least, there's a lot of stories. One that I think is a kind of a cute story. We get calls all the time, and the first thing I'll ask, depending on what the situation is, did you make sure it's plugged in? And I have traveled 6 hours before to go to an office and plug in a table and go, here you go. And that was the only thing wrong with it. So I'd asked this question. She was roughly an hour away from us. And I said, hey, just want to make sure we go through. I went through all the steps with her, said, hey, is it turned on? Is it plugged into the wall? Is it, the switch on? And went through all that. And she's like, yeah, we just need you out here. We need you out here now. The table's down. We got to get it up and running. I'm like, okay. And so I went out to the office. I walk in. The first thing I looked at was a wall outlet. It was plugged in. It was
Right.
into the wall outlet. This particular table had a plug into the back of the table. So
Right.
I look at the back of the table, and sure enough, the power cord was not plugged into the back of the table.
Mm-hmm.
And I got the CA. I said, hey, I want you to look at this. I want to show you how this is set up. So I showed her the power cord. I showed her the back of the table. I said, see, I said, all you have to do is plug it in. She goes, please, whatever you do, don't tell Doc. Don't tell him that was the only thing wrong with it. She goes, you've got to look over this table. You've got to, find something else wrong with it. So I tuned it up. I did a nice tune up, tightened everything, lubed everything. And I said, hey, you tell Doc. I said, I'm not going to tell the Doc. I said, but that's the only thing that was wrong with it. So from then on out, every time she calls me, I'm like, is it plugged into both outlets? And she's like, yes. So yeah, we see some crazy stuff. I know I had a doctor one time that he was a 6 hour round trip. And I went out to him to tighten a bolt one time. And I told him, I said, Doc, you can do this. It's just not that hard. He looked at me, and this was early on in my career. And he said, Derek, when I call you to come out here to work on something, I want you to come out here and work on something. I just kind of looked at him kind of like, what do you mean? He said, I don't know how to tighten a bolt. He said, I'm a chiropractor. I adjust patients all day, every day. If I want service work done, I'm going to call you. He said, I don't care what it is. He said, I would rather you come out here and tighten a bolt and that not, be the only issue than to come out here and the tail be, totally blown apart, parts falling everywhere. He said, so I always want you to work on my equipment. So I was like, okay. So you just never know what you're going to get when you show up at an office a lot of times. And we have more stories than that. I mean, it's somebody said one time I should write a book on it, just the different, funny little stories. But there's there's some interesting things that go on.
And I've got to imagine that, I know you're at Mile High each year, and I cannot recommend enough that when people are at Mile High, that they
Yeah.
have questions, equipment questions, and
Yes.
so on, to go see Derek and say hello and
Yeah.
make sure to connect and even ask questions that you have while you're there.
Oh yeah.
Don't wait till that. You can contact him anytime. But the other and look some of their educational stuff they have and the resources they have. But here's the thing, with that, you probably also had incredible experiences at events where people have asked you things about equipment and so on.
Yeah. At the events, it's interesting. We get a lot of comments on, the different tables. And I think one time we were at an event and we had a table that had every feature you could possibly mention on it. And I had been working the table, elevating it, doing the high-low and drops and everything. And a doc comes by and goes, "Hey, that's a nice stationary table." And I kind of was like, is he being serious or is he trying to be funny? And I said, you mean this high-low elevation table? He's like, no, that's a stationary. I'm like, no, it's a high-low. It's got power cords, on the floor. It's one of the Lloyd Ultimates. I mean, it's got everything you need on here. It's not a stationary table. No, that's a stationary. I'm like, I can't argue with you, but this is, it's an electronic table. It's got power cords. That was kind of a weird experience. And I think he just walked away. And I never saw the guy again. So I'm not sure if he was being serious or if he was just, trying to rile me up or what he was doing. But it was interesting. Yeah. So, and we get one of the questions I get a lot of times at conventions is, why don't you do this? Why don't you make this? And I'm like, I'm not a manufacturer. This is what they have. I said, I can make that suggestion and we'll see what they say, but I am not going to build or make that option on a table. We actually tried that. We tried doing some fabricating and building, and that's just a whole nother animal. And it was not my wheelhouse. It is interesting how many times docs will come by and try to give me advice on how to improve a table. And I love it, but there's usually the only thing I can do is email the manufacturers and say, hey, here's a request. And then that's usually all that ever happens. I wish there was another way or another avenue to that, but that is a tough question usually at a convention.
And speaking of conventions or events, Mile High, you told me that your favorite quote is, and this is very funny, true
Yes.
courage is when you're scared to death and still saddle up and ride in, John Wayne. And that was on one of our Mile High shirts one year.
Yes, when I got that Mile High shirt, and I was like, holy smoke. I mean, that was I had just gone over that quote with somebody else, and I'm like, that appeared. I'm like, okay. I don't remember if it was our first or second one, but I definitely got to go. We're on the same wavelength. This is where we need to be at Mile High, and from then on, everything it's just been a wonderful event. I missed it, when we didn't go last year. I'm like, man, really should go. And Mile High is just every year it's just exciting because the docs that get there, they may not talk to me, they may not buy equipment from me, and I don't care, because a lot of them are docs that I know that I've sold equipment to in the past. I don't know, Bo Bandy's usually there. I always get to see Bo. And it's just amazing to see these guys, and they're excited, because they need the power that you put into them with giving them positive energy and saying, hey, go back out into the world and explain to people, this is what they need. This is, they need chiropractic. They need to know why they need chiropractic and educate them, and then just, pumping these chiropractors up because they're beat down, either from their patients, from watching the news or for whatever, but they need this, kind of like a pep rally, just an energy booster to put that positive energy back into them so that they can go back out and be the light and shine it back on their patients, because they are seeing more people than what I don't see. It's kind of weird. I was going to say the civilian population, but I don't see, their patients. I'm seeing doctors. So I'm hearing doctors on the phone, and with everything that's going on right now, they need Mile High. They need something like that they can go to and recharge.
And thank you for saying that. I'll tell you, and I really appreciate you saying that. That year that we had that on the shirt, and I don't, everybody may or may not know that, I had some significant medical interventions in my life.
Yes.
And it was a Western theme that year, because we do a different
Yeah.
theme each year. This year, Indiana Jones, we're focusing on the art of chiropractic, which is
Yeah.
we're doing Raiders of the Lost Ark. We don't want the art of chiropractic to be lost.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Which is again why I'm so glad that you chose to be there this year. But that that quote was like, we were scared to put on the event, and we thought of like, do we do this or not? And we were looking for
Yeah.
an Old West theme, a Wild
Yeah.
West theme, and that came up. We're like, well, that's it. We're saddling up and putting this on,
But doing it anyway. Yeah. That's
So
yeah.
yeah, and the people that come to Mile High, that choose us, lots of places, just like you probably feel that, like there's lots of things people can go to in chiropractic,
Right.
virtually and live, and we really
Yeah.
think, we really think that we're grateful that there's a discerning audience that choose that, hey, this represents, who we are at Mile High.
Right.
And we're in alignment with that, and that's where we go. And we like the community of people. We like that we do that, that the exhibitors also, and the people are like, this is who we are as an exhibitor, and we feel in alignment with that, no pun intended. But I'm sure when it comes to equipment, that people also feel that way, that they want to be in alignment, coherent, congruent with the manufacturer, the distributor, the people they get their instrumentation equipment from, like
Right.
everything. And so
Yeah.
that, and I'm sure, people have, like you mentioned, our friend Bo Bandy, like people that will look to your company and be like, well, I like who they are and they represent who I am as a chiropractor.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And a lot of people can go straight to the manufacturer. I mean, they're going to get the same price. And what I tell people is, yes, you can do that. I said, but if you want a personal connection, you're going to call me, because I'm going to be able to walk you through things. I'm going to be able to tell you things the manufacturer's not. And we know all the ins and outs of all the different manufacturers. So then when I sit down or I talk to a doctor over the phone and try to find out what the best table for your practice is, I'm not trying to sell you or keep you in a box and sell you one thing. I'm letting you know, hey, the features you want, this is a table that would best suit your needs, not from a manufacturer standpoint of I've got to sell you just my table. So we want to find out what works for you, what suits best in your practice, and give you that attention even after something goes wrong. If something breaks, I still want you to be able to call me if you have a problem with something that we did. We still should be able to talk about it. We still should be able to correct a problem, fix it for you, and get you taken care of, so you can see more patients.
Yes, yes, yeah, 1,000%. And so now let's say this, why would someone choose to, what would be a reason of why they would choose to work with Total Clinic Solutions?
Because we're going to give them that personal attention. We're going to be there for them. We're going to ask them a lot of questions and find out exactly what suits your practice. We're going to go above and beyond what somebody else will, and just make sure that we take care of our customers.
And that's the thing of what people need from you in your chiropractic office, and it's what we feel we do with Mile High. And I recommend you do the same thing with the part thing in your office that you use every single day, other than your square footage, which is your equipment, and that people are laying on. And really, they make a discernment and judgment about the experience of your office. When we got the tables from you, okay, I don't think I ever told you this, but you'll be able to share this. When we got those tables from you, the Dura Comfort, right? When we
Yep.
got those and we upgraded from the portable tables we had used forever, okay, into those Dura Comfort, we literally that first day had people that said to us
Yes.
in the adjusting room, like, wow, I feel like I should be paying more for an adjustment, right? And I was like,
Right.
and that is you want that kind of experience. And I hadn't
Yes.
even ever thought that. But like,
Yeah.
this is something that and those were practitioners that have been seeing us for 10 years. They weren't new patients. They're like, wow, I feel like I should be paying more. I was like,
Right.
okay, well, maybe we should raise our fees. And like, your equipment will reflect what you can charge and, everything about your office.
Yep. That's a great point. Uh, we've seen a lot of that with the doctor's office, upgrading to equipment or just taking their old piece of equipment, they put new cushions on it, and the patients will come in and go, wow, you got new equipment. One, me as being a patient myself, when I walk into a chiropractor's office, the first thing I look at is, the equipment, so in my mind, if your equipment's not being taken care of, if it looks like it could use a facelift or you need new, in my mind as a patient, are you going to take good care of me? So, that makes a big difference. Also, when you do upgrade and you take care of the equipment, the patients notice that. If you have new equipment in your office, that builds excitement with your patients. They're going to want to tell their friends. It's like going to a car dealership. If you go to a BMW and you go to the waiting room, it's totally different than if you go to the Ford dealership. There's two different, classes of waiting rooms. So a chiropractic office would be the same way. What kind of feeling do you want your patient to have when they go into your office? Do you want them to feel like they're being taken care of? The equipment's up to speed. The equipment looks nice. The upholstery looks good. You don't have duct tape on it. All those things do take effect. And where would you want your patients, what for referrals? Do you want your patient to go, hey, I want you to go see Dr. So-and-so because he's, the office looks good. Or if Dr. So-and-so has tape on his office, do you think a patient's going to say, hey, I want to send my friend over here? So it kind of, appearances do make a difference in an office and whether or not it builds excitement with your patients. And if you do get a new piece of equipment, building that excitement for your patient so they go tell other people. And it does make a difference. I've actually heard from people, patients from other chiropractors like, hey man, so-and-so's got this table. That's an awesome table. Hey, my doctor has this table. Do you sell that table? So patients do talk about it. So they do know a little bit, kind of what's going on, not just that it's a piece of equipment that only a chiropractor knows about. Your patients can kind of pick up on it and know, if it's a good piece of equipment or if it's been upgraded.
Right, right. Well, I want to really, again, encourage people to reach out to Total Clinic Solutions and to Derek Harris. Can you tell, and certainly visit him when you're at Mile High, but how can they reach out to you and get some of your resources where they can learn more before then?
Sure. My website is totalclinicsolutions.com. And my phone number, I have a direct phone number, which goes directly to me. It's my cell number. It's 704-622-4089. And we're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So there's lots of ways to get hold of us. Just call us, email us, text us. We're available.
And again, also, if you are, where people receive this from all over the world, and if you're in we have a high
Yes.
potential, high number in the Front Range area because of the location of the Mile High event. But so if if you need assistance, there's a whole network of people around the world that they can connect
Yes.
with you through you to get repair support.
Yep, exactly. And email is the best way to get hold of us internationally. Just got an email this morning from Australia. So we're all over. Hong Kong, I think, has been emailing us, getting some parts for a table. So Yeah.
Great,
Happy to
great.
assist.
Great. And so again, we look forward to seeing everyone at Mile High in September 23rd to 26th, including Derek. And as I said, check them out. And we look forward to seeing, hey, I'll say this, Derek. Thank you for helping people continue to be able to change spines, lives, and minds with chiropractic, because the tools that you're giving them facilitate healing. And I know that part of your why is that you're contributing in that way, and it's the way that chiropractic has helped you as well.
Yes, absolutely.
So thank you everybody for joining us, and we'll see you. If you have not reserved your seats yet for Mile High, now's the time, milehighchiroregistration.com. And remember to hit the subscribe button so you never miss any Mile High tech.